Welcome to Shamrock Reddit Stories, entitled People Edition, where a Karen didn't realize that the gas station and convenience store attendant was going to call her bluff for a throwdown. This one is from JL Scott 0731, and it's called Entitled Lady Claims Woman with Child is a Terrorist. I Take the Hit. Okay, so I work at a large chain grocery store in a well-to-do area. Our customers, while a lot may look like typical Karens, are actually really nice and amazing people. That being said, I was racking carts and I hear this lady on the phone behind me. I don't know why they come to this country. They can barely even speak the language. I'm behind one right now who's probably a terrorist. I look in the window reflection and I can see that she's walking behind a young woman in a hijab who has a small child. The young woman just put her son in a cart, and I can see that she looks like she's about to cry. So, I decide, screw it. I'll take the hit for her. I spin around to Karen. Oi, I take bloody exception to that. Just because I'm Irish does not mean I am or ever was in the IRA. I look at both Karen and the young woman. Both were speechless, and all Karen does is point at the young woman. So, I continue. Me to the young woman. You saw that, didn't you? This lady just called me a bloody terrorist. I might speak Gaelic and wear a Catholic cross. I might even be from Ireland. And darn it, I'm bloody proud. But I am not a terrorist. At this point, my manager walks over to see what all the fuss is about. I say, this lady just called me a terrorist. Then I turn to the young woman. You heard her call me that too, right? My manager looks at the young woman and instantly catches on. He tells Karen that that kind of conduct is not okay in our store, no matter who it's directed at or why, and that she needs to leave. Karen, still speechless, just walks out. I turn to the young woman. I do apologize about the yelling, ma'am, but I'm proud of who I am. If you need anything while you're shopping, just let me or one of my coworkers know. The woman thanks me and pushes her cart away while sporting the biggest grin. My manager then makes the comment, entertainment tonight? $0. Teaching a Karen a lesson about discrimination? $0. Seeing that young woman walking away sporting a grin like the Cheshire Cat? Priceless. Seamus and I think it's great that the manager was so quick to figure out what you were up to. It made the whole scenario go so much smoother. Kudos to the two of you for making that young mother's day. This one is from Nacho Mama 55, and it's called I'll Park Where I Want To. Now I live in Michigan, and we get a lot of snow. Snow that needs to be shoveled so that we can use our sidewalks and driveways. After a snowstorm that left about 9 inches on the ground, my mother decided that she would be coming over to my house for something. I knew my driveway had to get shoveled for her. As I went outside, I noticed a car parked on the street and blocking my driveway. The entitled male driver was waiting for his child to get out of the junior high school on the next block to give him a ride home so that the poor kid wouldn't have to slog his way home through all that snow. Insert eye roll here. And since I'm out shoveling, the kid can just use my clean sidewalk and driveway to gain access to the car. So, I signaled to the entitled man that he needs to move as this is my driveway. The entitled man opens his newspaper and proceeds to read it, totally ignoring me. So, I start shoveling. 15 minutes later, about halfway through my shoveling, I stop and try to get the entitled man's attention again by knocking on his window. Entitled man looks at me, then goes back to his newspaper. Frustrated, I go back to shoveling. Then I get an awesome idea. I took the next shovelful of snow and, instead of throwing it over to the grass on the side of the driveway, I threw the entire load onto his front windshield. Entitled man looked up. I ignored him and threw a second shovelful of snow onto his car. The entitled man started yelling at me, so I just shrugged my shoulders and signaled him to move his car. After some choice words, he did. My mother was able to pull into my driveway about 10 minutes later. I have absolutely no idea where the entitled man finally parked to pick up his child. Not my monkey, not my circus. Funny story. I'm sure that the father was wondering what the big deal was to just park there for a few minutes. However, it is a driveway that he was blocking. This one is from Strong Friend 5053, and it's called Karen Didn't Think Through Her Threats. For context, at the time, I was in my late 20s at the early stages of a multiple sclerosis diagnosis and having a horrible day. This was in late 2009. The cast, NC equals new coworker. SC equals scrawny man. Karen, of course. Officer, me, equals obviously me. There I was in all my glory, wearing my horribly green-colored polo, training a new girl at the till. I had been in the store for over 10 hours at that point, and I was at my wits' end. The girl who I was training was an absolute godsend when it came to catching on to the intricacies of the system and really knew what she was doing. As I am standing in the office, I hear the chime of the door opening and look out to see this scrawny little man, maybe in his late 30s. He seemed like a nice gentleman, so I walked to the edge of the counter, leaning against it, as my new coworker puts on her customer service smile. New coworker, how may I help you today, sir? Scrawny man, I'm going to be filling up, not sure how much. New coworker, no problem, sir. Scrawny male puts $50 on the counter and walks away toward the restroom when the dinging for the pump goes off. New coworker turns on the pump for what appears to be his wife. Seems like a perfectly normal thing, right? Wrong. The pump hits $20 and we hear the distinct call of a wild and very angry Karen. We both look up to see the man's wife screaming bloody murder. She is throwing things and having a full-blown tantrum next to the pump. She is punching and kicking it before slowly turning towards the window where she sees us standing wide-eyed at her antics. Beside me, I hear, "Oh no!" I turn to see the poor scrawny soul with his mouth agape at what he is witnessing. And I can swear at this point that Karen has become full-blown possessed. She comes barreling in like a bull seeing red and begins to scream at new coworker. Karen, you stupid freaking B-word! Why didn't you turn off the gosh darn pump? New coworker, Miss, he said he was filling up. And she points to scrawny man. Karen, no! He said put $5 in, you stupid cow! Me, no ma'am, he didn't. Her eyes turned to me and a vicious scowl came across her face. Sir, I say to scrawny man. Scrawny man, I said fill up, honey. She began screaming about us stealing from her children, and jumping and stomping on the floor. Now keep in mind, none of this is making any sense to me, and yes, it seems like a jumbled mess that is just totally absurd. But, my friends, it gets even better. She looks at new coworker and reaches over the till trying to grab her. New coworker pulls back while the woman begins to attempt to crawl over the counter. The man is just standing there, and I can see the utter shock on his face. Me. Enough! I said it so loud that the woman stops and looks at me. What the heck do you think you are doing? Karen. I'm going to beat both of your butts. I took a breath and slowly began to smile. I turned towards new coworker and said, here is my logout info. As soon as you enter it, I want you to call the cops. Karen, what are you doing? Me, you said you wanted to kick my butt, so I'm logging out, I say as I'm taking off my name tag on my jacket. She is looking at me with this shocked expression. My coworker is now on the phone with 911. Walk outside, miss. We'll take care of this really quick. Karen, but... Me, no, you threatened me and my worker, so let's do this. Karen, but you can't. Me, oh yes I can. I began walking toward her. The scrawny man finally wakes up from his trance and steps in front of me. Scrawny man, no need for that, ma'am. I will take care of it. Me, oh no, sir. I do not take threats lightly. In walks one of the county's finest who sees the standoff. Officer, oh Lord, who riled her up? Now, the officer knows me and has seen me angry before. That is a whole other story. Karen, she threatened me. Scrawny man speaking to his wife. You started this. All of us give statements. The officer looks at the camera footage and shakes his head. She was arrested for trying to assault new coworker, but it also turns out that she was charged for possession of methamphetamine. The scrawny man apologizes over and over and paid for the gasoline, and also bought us both a drink. The man ended up filing for divorce and took custody of both the children. He came in a few months later. Apparently, he didn't know she was doing drugs, and he was sick with the big C word. Last I heard, he was on his last round of chemo. I moved out of town a few months later. Seamus and I hear that ingesting illegal stimulants makes you do crazy things. This is a case in point. I'm guessing that she didn't want to spend too much money on gasoline when she had more important things to purchase. This one is from Yikes Lady, and it's called Entitled Old Fart Tries to Cut My Parents in Line for Coffee. So, my parents stopped off for coffee and muffins. A woman about their age, late 70s, asked if she could go in front of them because old people shouldn't have to stand in line. My dad said no and mentioned that they're probably about the same age. Then she claimed she couldn't wait because she's diabetic. My mom said that my dad was also diabetic and that this lady needed to stop bothering them. So this rude B word tells my dad to prove to her that he's diabetic. The woman behind my parents felt that they were being too nice and said, "Lady, he doesn't have the proved crap to you. He's standing in line like a normal person waiting his turn. You're the one begging strangers to let you cut in line," the old lady says. "Well, I never." Awesome lady behind my parents says, "You never got laid? It shows." My dad paid for awesome lady's meal. That brings us to the close of another one, folks. Until next time.